It's time now, mate.
Okay.
Well, hello there, Steve Heapy. Hang on. False alarm. Hello there, Steve Heapy. How are you, my friend?
Buenas tardes. Muy bien, Bruno. How are you?
Yo estoy muy bien. I am
Perfecto.
better than ever. So, better than ever. So we have lots of friends and people that want to hear us talk today and have a little chat. This is becoming an annual event. You realize that we done the first one in May, and we do another one now. This is becoming interesting, right?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Okay. Now, Steve, the first thing I want to ask. Oh, I have a few questions here, like 62 pages of questions that people sent. But before we go on, did I hear it right that at this climate that we're living right now, you have ordered 75 brand new aircraft? Is that?
That's correct. Up to 75 brand new A321 aircraft, which is the most environmentally friendly in its class. We get them we started delivery next year, and then we get them for the next 5 years. So we ordered those, a few months ago when we're still in the depths of COVID. And I think it shows that we're confident. COVID was always going to end. This thing can't carry on forever. And we put in what we could. Right. So it's great news. Those aircraft will be used for replacing some of our current fleets when it retires, but also for growth as well. We're already the biggest airline and tour operator to the Canary Islands, Tenerife in particular, right. And we will continue on our trajectory of growth.
All right. Now this is amazing, because I said, no, this must be an exaggeration, because you have some travel press in Europe which they jump to conclusions and so on. I said,
yes.
I must be careful on this, but
it's all true, Bruno.
It's a brave move, isn't it, mate? I mean,
it is, but I think in times like this, it's very easy to focus on, and we were all focused on tomorrow or next week or next month, but we can't take our eye off the ball for the longer term. And airlines that try to order new aircraft now face an incredibly long wait with the manufacturers. So we got in early, and we will be continuing to grow whilst others may stay the same size and stagnate. So yes, it was brave, but it was the right thing to do, and I think hoteliers, yourselves, etc., will see the benefits from that in the coming months.
Steve, how does that fit in to the situation of the Canary Islands vis-a-vis Jet2, Jet2.com and Jet2 Holidays? How does that fit in? How does, you buy 75 new aircraft, what does it mean to the Canary Islands? What does it mean to Tenerife?
It will mean we will have the aircraft to put more flights in. Only Friday last week we put a bit more capacity into Tenerife, so not only will we do it in the longer term, we'll do it as and when we can this year. And summer 23, you will see another increase in capacity to the Canary Islands and Tenerife in particular. It's one of our biggest destinations, Tenerife, and the other 3 Canary Islands to which we fly are also significant destinations for us. We're year-round, and we are the biggest airline and the biggest tour operator by far. You saw the presentation we did before Christmas. We've got plans to continue growing. We've got great support from the hoteliers. We are known as the airline of choice because of our customer service, the tour operator of choice because we win all the awards, and people are coming to us. We've seen an enormous number of brand new customers to the company. And I think that is partly due to the way we treated our customers during the pandemic. We refunded money quickly. We recently scored very well in a Which survey, which is a consumer magazine, and our competitors didn't do very well.
I want to pick up on that. When I was a tour operator in the UK many moons ago, you were a 5-year-old going to school, Steve, and to be mentioned in a positive way by Which magazine, Which the consumer group, it was a major battle for a travel company, because we were then a target of an awful lot of nonsense that went on. Now, at this day and age, that you managed to get a positive mention from Which, now that's quite something. Which is so how do you say that, demanding on its criteria. It's
it was good to hear. Not only did we get a mention from Which, we were top of a table done by another website, Money Saving Expert. We were the only airline to be commended for the way we treated customers during the pandemic from the CAA, the Government Civil Aviation Authority. So it's been very widely recognised that we've done the right thing. We refunded customers their money quickly, and these customers are now coming back to us. Some companies didn't refund their customers' money because they couldn't do. We all know that, let's say, the traditional tour operator model is to effectively use customers and suppliers as unsecured lenders and dip into suppliers and consumer cash. We don't do that. We segregate our customers' money, and we have our own cash. At our year end, we had $1.5 billion of our own cash. So we're very careful about that. We internally segregate the money. We don't use our customers or our partners as unsecured lenders of money. So we're able to refund straight away.
No, that's very interesting. That certainly is one of the things, because in my days, it was a very common practice to, that's it, get the money from the clients 12 weeks before.
In the 1800s.
Yeah. Yes, in the 80s. Get the money from the clients 12 weeks before they go on holiday, and then pay the hoteliers 4 months afterwards. So you spend, you have all this cash. But
we've always wanted to be different, Bruno, and treat customers as we want to be treated. I think, for too long, the industry was plagued by, it was 4 big companies and then 2 big companies that used to treat their customers and hotel partners, well, they didn't call them hotel partners, they just called them suppliers, very badly. And it continues from some companies not paying hotel partners, not refunding customers, and treating them all around pretty bad, really. And we wanted to change that. We made our relationships front and centre of our business model. That's relationships with customers and relationships with our hotel partners, and we're trying to treat them as we want to be treated also. And I think when we first met 10 years ago in the Magma Centre in Tenerife, I said, we will not change and become big and slow and arrogant like some other companies. When we get bigger, we will always be a company that operates in the same way, and that's moving quickly and treating people as true partners. And I think we have done, to be honest.
I think so as well. One of the things that strikes me is that I have mentioned this to you before, and you always have the same answer, which is, I said, are you not interested in some hotels, to buy? You send all these clients to some hotels. Are you not tempted to buy hotels? And you
No.
You've always said that. Now, why the hell not?
Well, we are an airline and a tour operator, and the first thing is that's an incredibly complicated business, and we're not experts in hotels. We don't want to be. We'd rather leave that to the hoteliers because, why would we try to replicate a model that works? We put all our energy into running the airline and the tour operator. And it's a very capital intensive business. Buying aircraft is an incredibly expensive thing. If we get all 75 Airbus aircraft, the gross transaction value before discounts, we're not allowed to say what discounts are, but the gross transaction value is the list price $10.1 billion.
$10.2 billion.
$10.1 billion, yeah, before discounts. So, that's the amount of money we're investing, and we continue to invest, and it doesn't really leave much room for getting into hotels, and we don't want to. We'd rather leave that to the experts. We will bring the people to the destination and get them to the hotel and look after them and give them a great service. And the experts in hotels can look after them while they're there, and that works for us. So it's not something we want to get into. And I think it creates conflicts as well within the business. I think you can be too vertically integrated. I know TUI always said that vertical integration was the way forward. It was, the key to being a successful business. And recently, they've said they need to divest assets, which is pretty much the opposite. So maybe other people are starting to realise that, being in control of everything absolutely probably isn't the way to do it.
Right. There's a term, there is a say in Spanish which says zapatero a su zapato, which means shoemaker make shoes. The shoemaker don't make anything else. They make shoes. So if you're good at making shoes, make shoes.
It's a very, very relevant and very wise thing, yeah. And that's exactly, I'll have to remember that phrase, Bruno. I have to tell is that?
Yeah.
Is that Pater's shoes, isn't it? So
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I think it's absolutely the way we look at things in our business. We're an airline and a tour operator, and that's what we want to do. We don't want to start getting into all sorts of different things.
No, that's interesting. Now, Steve, I have here, as you can see, about 30 questions that different people have asked me, and some of them has said, please tell him where it came from, because I said, do you want to hide your identity? He said, no, you tell him. So we have a question here from someone here in Tenerife, Don Jose Fernando Cabrera.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
And he asked, what aspects of Tenerife as a destination do you value the most? And which ones do you think it should be improved? Let's say, what's good and what's bad in Tenerife as far as you're concerned right now that we could improve?
Okay, well, Tenerife obviously is one of our most important destinations. It's year-round, which is fantastic. It's the most popular winter destination we've got. In the south of the island, there's something for everyone. Obviously, the beaches, and there's Island Park, etc., and shops, bars, and restaurants, which many people, that's what they want from a holiday. They just want to lie on the beach, lie next to the pool, go out for a nice meal, have a day at a water park, and that's it. I think sometimes there's a little too much focus on the sort of negative side of it, and sometimes you see things that other tourist boards do, and they are pushing activities that 0.5% of the population follow, and this is mass market tourism. I'm looking out my window now, it's going dark, it's raining, it's pretty cold.
Well, I'm looking at my window now, and it's sunny. it's got I have a palm tree right outside where I'm looking at now.
Well, that's
And that's the difference.
that's why people go, Bruno.
Right.
It's great. I think in terms of what Tenerife needs to do, it would be nice if something could be done with, and it's sort of a consequence of how successful the destination is. But the roads, there are problems on some of the roads between the airport and Los Cristianos, Los Americas, etc. And then from Los Cristianos out to Conectatec and beyond towards Hard Rock, etc. And I think those two roads are very busy, and we've had to tell customers in our communications that the roads are sometimes busy, and we've had to increase the length of our transfer times, etc. It's not an easy thing to fix, but it's something that hopefully could be improved on.
No.
And then the other thing, this goes for all the Canary destinations, and when you're a year-round destination, it's a lot easier to do because you spread the investment, but there's going to be an ever-increasing focus on sustainable travel. And customers are asking for this in much greater numbers than ever before. They are searching for sustainable travel.
Can you give me some? Can you give me some examples that other destinations are doing on that sense that we could take a good look?
No destination has really looked at this together. There's individual hotels that have done some things, and some governments are looking at things, but nobody's really come together. Unfortunately, when governments look at sustainability, they think taxation is the way to do it, but it's not always. They put taxation in place, and then they spend it on things that don't really improve the environment. What we need is for governments, hoteliers, etc., to come together and put in place a sustainable model whereby, let's say, the overall carbon footprint is lowered, etc. And it could become known as a sustainable destination or a more sustainable destination. Maybe parts of Tenerife, maybe the whole of Tenerife, maybe the Canary Islands, maybe the whole of Spain. But some destinations will do it. They will get their act together, and everybody will come together and try to create a sustainable model, because that's what increasingly customers are looking for.
Right. And you reckon that is a definite trend to watch out for, and it will be a differentiating factor, is it?
It will be ever increasing because a few years ago people used to talk about global warming, then they talked about climate change, and now it's referred to as the climate emergency. So that's what governments, etc., are calling it, and I think it's inevitable that as an industry we'll have to do more, because otherwise governments will use their primitive and blunt tool, which is taxation. And if you think about it, governments will keep increasing taxes, putting green taxes in place, and they will have one effect. They will put you, your colleagues, us out of business, because unfortunately the fundamental law of supply and demand will kick in. If prices go up, then demand will go down. If demand goes down, yes, emissions will drop, but people will go out of business, and that is pretty much the only tool currently employed by governments.
Now this is very interesting, Steve. Now you're talking now as if the client actually decides what to buy and where to go on holiday. You're talking like you're taking power away from your marketing machine that you have installed, and saying, yeah, I have all that, but the client is king. Is that the message? Am I?
The client has always been king. Yeah, I mean, we offer a wide range of hotels than traditional tour operators, and they have a much narrow offering because they have their own hotels and they want to push those. We very often, we let the customer decide. The customer is king or queen, always has been, and always will be. Again, one thing we wanted to change is where traditionally tour operators have dictated to hotels how they must operate, etc., dictated to customers where they must go and what they must do. And we've changed that. The customer is king and will vote with their feet, as we say. If they're not happy with you as a company, with your product offering, they will go somewhere else. Now, in the old days, maybe they didn't do as much as they could because there wasn't the internet. But, if I don't like your website, if you're too slow for me, if you don't offer me the choice, I'll close it down and go on another one. It's that easy.
All right. And then there's also a tendency of, this has always been the case, including back in the last century when I was in the UK, that some people think that you, the tour operator, have the almighty power to make the client go here, make the client go there. Is there any truth in that, or?
No, that's a very old-fashioned concept. In the old days, people used to book to one destination and they'd be taken to another and put in a different hotel, and you'd have all this stuff going on. That's not the case anymore, because first of all, the customers have ultimate choice. They don't have to go into town on a bus and queue up to see a travel agent. They'll just do whatever they need to do on the internet. And as I say, it's as simple as clicking from one to another and changing what they're doing. So in that aspect, it's dead easy. But also, you've got sites like TripAdvisor and all these other review sites. If customers aren't happy, they will absolutely hammer you on social media. Now, I would urge people to go onto our Facebook sites, etc., and look what customers are saying about us, and then go on to other Facebook sites, TUI, for example, and the other guys, and see what their customers are saying about them. What we're doing and the money we spend on customer service is really paying dividends. It's an investment, not cost.
Now that's interesting. That brings me to one of the questions here that, as you're talking, I'm looking over the questions and see if we don't repeat ourselves. Here, somebody asked a question. Tell us about any new products or innovations that Jet2 will be bringing to the market in the near future, in the long haul. Is there anything that you guys are doing, some product development? Zoe Towers people are having their the gloves on and they're starting to do.
Well, it's true. We are looking less at the next week, the last month, and more long term now. And we are planning a number of initiatives going forward, and we will be reviewing all our products to make sure that they're still relevant. We'll be tearing them apart, looking at what customers like and what customers don't like, and improving them. One thing we will be doing in the Canary Islands later on in the year is bringing back our incredibly popular resort flight check-in product, which you had at Paradise Park.
Yes. Yes.
We were in the situation where customers were asking for that specifically, and hotels, some of them were a bit unsure at first, but those hotels that agreed to work with us on resort flight check-in benefited because customers were searching specifically for hotels that did that, and we're going to be bringing that back in the Canary Islands later on this year. But there's a number of other things we're working on as well. I can't go into them yet because they're still at the early stage, but that's one thing I can say, that it will be coming back at some stage later on in the year, I hope.
Right. Well, you do realize I hate to disappoint you, but the company I used to work for, called Wings, back in back in the 70s and 80s, we used to have a check-in procedure at the airport in UK. Customer was to put the luggage on a plane and not see the luggage again until they get to the hotel bedroom.
Fantastic. You were an innovator, Bruno.
Absolutely no, I didn't have anything to do with it. But the bosses there were fantastic. Of course, that became not practical because of the insurance company risks and so on and so forth. But the client, in the same way, going back, he used to leave his luggage outside his bedroom and go on to the bus back to the airport.
That's fantastic.
And when he got to Manchester, he would get his luggage there.
Brilliant. Well, I very much hope we can bring that back later on in the year.
Oh, that'll be interesting.
It's a great product. Yeah. It's quite difficult to get it in place because there's security concerns, etc. It's quite hard to get that done, but it's a great product and customers ask for it.
Right.
But we are back into growth and innovation mode now, and out of sort of emergency mode. We're back.
Great, fantastic news. I have a question here from someone that you might know, Mr. Angel Tomas.
Angel Tomas,
Commercial
GF.
and marketing manager of GF Hotels, great chain, right? He says, what are the most significant changes in customer behavior brought about by COVID-19, inflation, and the current socio-economic situation in general? What are the most significant changes in customer behavior?
One thing we've seen is that customers, I think, increasingly are drawn to package holidays and with reputable companies. Package holidays are certainly getting stronger. For many years, people have said that the package holiday is dying, but it's not. It's the opposite. People have had failures of Monarch, low-cost beds, Thomas Cook, etc. They've been stung over the last few months where they book things separately and they've not got refunds. They've had to go for 3 or 4 different refunds from the hotel, from the bed bank, from the airline, from the transfer company, and it's been incredibly messy. Whereas, we sorted everything out and give the customers their money back as soon as the holiday couldn't depart. So not only are they concentrating on tour operators, but the reputable ones. Right. You can see by going on to which.co.uk which companies treated customers well and which didn't. We scored very, very highly. In fact, we're the only which recommended airline and which recommended tour operator, and others didn't score very well at all because they didn't do the right thing for the customers. So that's one thing. I think people will be even more demanding on customer service and cleanliness, etc. Because obviously we've been through the COVID situation and people have been cleaning a lot more and sanitising their hands, etc. So I think they will expect to see an element of that carried through to the hotels, and I think they're going to be very demanding for customer service. And this is one thing that worries me, that some hotels will struggle to recruit enough staff. Some hotels will not want to recruit the required number of staff because they're trying to save money. And it will be very disappointing if that happens, because customers will not be getting the experience to which they're entitled. And we will be able to see very early on from customer feedback scores, from TripAdvisor, etc., as to which hotels are perhaps cutting costs and giving customers a poor deal. We can't, it's not an acceptable thing for the next 2 years to effectively say to customers, I'm sorry, you're going to have a worse holiday than that to which you are accustomed because we want to save money. Customers will expect everything they had before and more. And we're seeing that, customers are, the average length of the holiday is slightly longer, the average star rating is slightly higher, the average board basis is higher. Customers, in some cases, haven't been on holiday for 2 or 3 years, and they are really wanting to treat themselves and spend money because they feel like they deserve it. They are owed a good holiday. And I would say, hotels, tour operators, airlines, if they don't treat customers how they would expect to be treated themselves, they do so at their peril, and they will have some very angry customers.
I tend to agree with that. I mean, I can hear you now, and I say, you're talking like a hotelier. You're talking like customer this, customer that. We need to take care of the customer. This is a very hotelier-like language.
Well, it is because we are entrusting our customers. We will have them on our aircraft for 4.5 hours, and then we're entrusting them to a hotel for 2 weeks. And if the customers are unhappy, they're going to come to us. Now,
That's right.
luckily, we still have overseas customer helpers in the hotels to help customers. I hope they won't have any problems with the hotels to deal with. Inevitably there will be some. But some tour operators don't have overseas customer helpers. Some tour operators used to have overseas customer helpers and no longer have them. So basically, if there are any issues now, we'll sort them out and help our customers. The strategy of the companies that used to have them and don't, or have never had them, is basically, you sort it out, Mr. or Mrs. Hotelier. We don't want to spend the money on reps, as they call them. We can't afford it, or we just want to pay our shareholders bigger dividends, etc. So we're not going to have them, so you sort it. You have a queue of angry customers at your reception desk, and you can sort it all out because we don't want to spend the money. We, however, are growing our team of overseas customer helpers, and they will be on hand to help the customers.
Interesting. Listen, how do you see flight capacities to Tenerife evolving in the next year or so, as the year moves along? How do you see capacity moving on there, to Tenerife specifically?
To Tenerife specifically, we will continue to grow capacities to all the Canary Islands and Tenerife in particular. I've got the capacities here, if you want me to just go through them.
Yes, please.
My eyes aren't what they used to be.
Okay,
so here we go. In summer 17, we flew 45 times a week to Tenerife.
45.
45. In summer 22, we will fly 85 times a week. TUI, summer 17, 38 flights a week. Summer 22, 39 flights a week. EasyJet 24 and 40, Ryanair 55 and 60. So they've hardly grown, and we have almost doubled. And the trajectory of growth will continue. We'll continue to invest in all 4 Canary Islands. They've all seen very, very similar increases in capacity, and we are now the biggest to Tenerife, the biggest to Gran Canaria, the biggest to Lanzarote, and the biggest to Fuerteventura. And we have summer 23 on sale at the moment. We're putting some extra aircraft on sale, and Tenerife and the other 3 Canary Islands will see more capacity going in for summer 23.
Okay.
Some airlines have said it's going to be 2 or 3 years before we get back to summer 19 levels of capacity. Well, in summer 19 we did 61 flights a week. In summer 22 we're going to do 85 flights a week. So we're already 33% higher than summer 19. We're not going to wait till 23, 24 to get back to those levels of capacity. We're already well ahead.
You have said something very interesting that has put me right on track to ask you. We have questions here from La Palma.
Oh, La Palma.
Yes, La Palma. My friend Alfredo is asking any ideas, anything that could perhaps in the near future means flights to La Palma, perhaps?
I would never say never. We have looked at La Palma in the past, and unsurprisingly, it didn't stack up in the business case because some of the hotels had signed exclusivities with other tour operators, and this is the danger of signing exclusivities.
By the way, I heard somewhere that you don't like exclusivity.
No, we don't. We think they are bad for the tour operator because it changes behaviour and forces them not to offer all the choice they could do. It's bad for the customer because it restricts choice, and also it puts the prices up. If you look at the accounts of a very well-known multinational pan-European tour operator, which I won't mention, it says in their accounts that their margins are highest on their own hotels. So the price is higher for the customers, and I don't think it's good for the hotelier, because running a business and only having one customer is a bit risky. You wouldn't operate a butcher's shop with an exclusivity to, Mr. Smith down the road. You would sell to whoever you wanted. And unfortunately, last time we looked at La Palma, some of the hotels were in exclusive arrangements, and what we want to do is offer a wide range of product, and there's still a number of hotels that are in exclusive arrangements, locked into them perhaps, and there was no business case to do that. Now, we inevitably will look at La Palma again and see if the situations change, but unfortunately this is one of the consequences of hotels signing exclusive arrangements.
I've seen, I've lived, when I used to be an active worker, I used to understand and feel that exclusivity arrangements for a hotelier, it's not a very good thing. But I never heard a tour operator saying, I don't like exclusivity. So it's interesting.
Yeah, it's a bit of a straitjacket for the hotel and the customer and the tour operator, and I just don't think we need them. Where the exclusivity has been taken for the wrong reason, it's very damaging, and there's been a huge number of cases where that's happened, where perhaps another tour operator has taken exclusivity, not because it needs the beds, but to keep other people out, specifically to keep other people out. And when they do that, then things get very messy. They promise the earth to the hotelier, and then the volume doesn't materialise, the hotelier gets screwed, everything goes wrong, and it's a very messy situation to be in. And I think, we're very happy to fight on price and quality. We're not scared of anybody. We've got the best customer service in the industry. We've got the best airline, the 5th best airline in the world, according to TripAdvisor. We've been in the top 10 airlines in the world for the last 3 years. We've got nothing to be frightened of. The only thing we should be frightened of is our own complacency. And we are not complacent.
Very interesting. Very interesting. Now, I have a question here from someone saying that Jet2 has taken on a heavy debt during the pandemic. How long do you believe it will take before the business returns to an operating profit, and how long do you believe it will take to pay off the debt?
Okay, well, the first part of the question isn't strictly true. We haven't taken on much debt. Okay. We did 2 share placings of 20%, so 2 lots of 20% is 44% more shares, and we raised several hundred million from that. And then we did a convertible bond for over 400 million, and that was specifically to help to finance the aircraft. So the only additional debt we took on pretty much was the convertible bond, which we can either repay over a fixed period of time or it converts to shares. So we didn't take on an enormous amount of toxic debt like some companies did. The debt we took on, the convertible bond, was specifically for the new aircraft. In terms of paying it back, well, we hope that in summer 22 and winter 22-23, we will return to profitability and get back to business as usual. Now, it's going to take some time to rebuild the balance sheet to where it was, and it will take all businesses some time. Yeah. And I think this is a very important point to make. Airlines, tour operators, hotels, governments have to be aware that the balance sheet is not going to be rebuilt in 1 year. It's going to take several years. So if people start putting rates up by silly percentages to try and get back to where they were 2 years ago, it won't happen. We've all got to take a very, very sensible approach. particularly in this inflationary environment that we're in now.
And that's very interesting. Now, I don't know if you heard, but well, one of the questions that came through was for someone living in upstate New York, right?
Oh,
In
okay.
a place called Plattsburgh. And Mr. Culver here says, Dr. William Culver says he would love to come to the Canaries because he has heard that there is a United Airline flight scheduled once a week from Newark Airport, which is in New Jersey,
Yeah.
direct to Tenerife, which will start in June. And he's asking if you had any plans or anything to perhaps follow suit or do something
Well,
similar.
I mean, it's great for the people of New York being able to fly over to lovely Tenerife. I think that's a big thing, and it's also great for the people of Tenerife to have different flying. Is it one flight a week?
It's one flight a week, so I
Yeah.
gathered, yeah.
The only thing I would say, I hope the Tenerife Government Tourist Board hasn't blown all its budget on attracting one flight a week from Newark. We've seen before where people aggressively chase, let's call them trophy routes, and
Sorry,
it can be
trophy,
as in a cup, a trophy,
Like a trophy,
something
yeah.
to be proud of. Yes,
Right.
So you like a really high-profile route.
Okay.
They have been, I'm not saying this is the case here, but there's been cases in the past where people have chased these high-profile routes, and it sounds great, but they spend a inordinate and disproportionate amount of time and money in attracting that route. So, don't forget, we're flying 85 times a week to Tenerife, and in winter we'll be flying a similar amount, and in summer 23 we'll be flying probably near 100 times a week. So I think it would be very good to have that fact remembered when people are dancing in the streets at their one-a-week flight from Newark.
Right, I can see that, doing carnival on the streets. Now,
Yeah.
we have
Just to be clear, Bruno, I think it's great for Tenerife,
Yeah.
and I think it's great for Newark.
Sure,
but we just have to be careful. There's
Yeah.
there's a lot of hotels to fill in Tenerife, and you need volume.
Right. Now listen, we have talked for about 45 minutes now, and we haven't mentioned once COVID-19. You know what that is?
And it's fantastic.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
Isn't it fantastic? We've been positive all along, but it's about time I bring that down and say to you that, do you think local COVID restrictions will play a large part, or does it play a large part in customers deciding where to go now at this
Yes.
present context?
Yes, it does. We get lots of people in the call centre asking what restrictions are in place. In the UK, our government took the decision to lift a lot of the COVID restrictions, and you don't have to wear masks in shops, bars, restaurants, etc. Things have been loosened, and our infection rates are a lot better than they were, and they're going down, particularly with Omicron. And it's been proven that Omicron is less severe in terms of the symptoms than other strains, and people are asking, where can I go where it's like the UK? And obviously, if customers are told, well, actually, you've got to wear a mask in public areas, you're supposed to wear a mask when you're walking down the street, then that will put them off, because the whole point of having a holiday is to escape normality and to do something different. And if customers have to go to, I don't know, you have to do it, you live there, but if they've got to go to a warm climate on holiday and wear a mask, then it would probably, well, it does put some of them off. And I think the sooner that the whole of Europe comes together, and I would like to think the UK be involved in this as well, and do a sort of single agreed measure, then the better. And we are getting back to normal, you know, by all accounts, and obviously I'm no scientist. COVID is getting less severe in terms of the symptoms. You know, the transmissibility of a virus and the impact of a virus have a negative correlation. The more transmissible it becomes, and Omicron is incredibly transmissible, the less severe the symptoms become, and the one trades off against the other. So I would hope that now it's like getting the common cold.
Right.
And I think the sooner that governments get back to that and treat this virus as a common cold, the better. And I fully expect, and I will not give up, and I would urge hoteliers, etc., not to give up, that travel should be like it was 2 years ago. Governments have a habit of putting emergency measures in place and then never removing them. Emergency measures following 9/11, emergency measures following the financial crash of 2008. Many of these emergency measures are still in place 14, 21 years later. And I would very much hope that these emergency measures that have been put in place for the last 2 years are removed, and travelling should be like it was in, where are we now, February, like it was in February 2020 or 19, whatever it was.
19.
Whenever it was before, 19.
19
yes.
is better.
Yes. Yeah.
Now, to that end, let me say to you that Spain has done extremely well on the vaccination front. You know, we have somehow managed to get that message across, and we have almost 90% of the population vaccinated, if that is
Very good.
and the Canary Islands even higher, right? So we have we've done our homework on that front. Now, how is Jet2 going about improving the customer journey through its processes? Is there anything you're thinking of redesigning the processes? Are you selling more at your call center? Do you find it more, or customers find it better, easier to talk to someone on the phone than to book online, than to walk into a travel agency? I mean, what is the trend that you see about coming? If you're doing anything to improve the customer journey?
Well, the most important thing we're doing is returning back to summer 19 staffing levels. In fact, we're above summer 19 staffing levels. If you sort of look at the number of customers and the number of staff, the ratio of staff to customers has gone up. Mm-hmm. So we're investing in customer service. We're not cutting costs thinking, oh, let's have a few less staff and save some money. We're getting back to above the summer 19 levels of staff. And that's why I mentioned it to hoteliers. We, as we say, practice what we preach. We're asking people to have the right staffing levels. We have, in fact, we are above those. And the reason for that is I think customers want more hand-holding, more reassurance. They have more questions. It's quite daunting for some customers. If you've got people that go on holiday once a year, they've probably not travelled for 3 years. There's all sorts of new processes in place. It's very daunting. The airport looks different. And, you know, these customers want reassurance, not just at the airport, but during the booking journey. The average length of our phone calls has gone up quite significantly by several minutes. We've got people ringing 3 or 4 times before they go on holiday asking for advice. Now, again, we could do what other tour operators are doing, saying, oh, sorry, we've got your booking, we're not interested in talking to you. But we answer the phone calls because we provide great customer service. You know, we've had customers on the phone asking us to give them advice on filling out their passenger locator form. Some companies will say, I'm sorry, I'm not allowed to do that, and put the phone down. We help them. And I think this may be the case at hotels during this summer. Customers might have more queries, they might be more demanding, They might have things to worry about. They might be pointing out instances where they think something needs cleaning or whatever. I think hotels have to be ready for this. Summer 22 is going to be a year where customers are very, very demanding, and customers that don't hotels that don't listen to the customers, and tour operators that don't listen to the customers will very soon find out that customers will vote with their feet. There'll be bad reviews on TripAdvisor, etc., and that will put people off booking. And customers do look at these sites and they do pick things out. So we have all got to make sure that we have adequate levels of staffing.
Right. Now, my colleagues here tell me that we got 10 minutes to go to keep.
We can go on a bit longer if you want. I don't mind, Bruno.
Thank you.
As long as you want. It's a pleasure to speak to you.
Thank you, Steve. It's always a pleasure talking to you as well. And by the way, how is the family?
Very well, thank you. My mum and dad and my brother, etc. They always ask after you, Bruno. How's Bruno? And obviously you are fit and well, and
yes, I am.
Yeah, they're all very well and happy, thank you. Yeah.
Good. Because I didn't ask how was the family in the beginning. Anyway, listen, I have a question here that could be interesting to hear your thoughts on it. The booking pattern for the UK is very short term, right? With most being within 4 weeks of travel at the moment, right? Is that correct, by the way, or is that?
It's longer than that. What you're saying is right, that during the pandemic, the booking pattern changed significantly, and the length of time between the booking and the departure decreased. There was a period of time when it was very short term. The majority of customers were booking at 4 weeks out, but that has increased now. And we always said it was about confidence. Governments peeled back the measures that were put in place. Things are looking better. Omicron's not as bad as everyone thought it will be. Confidence is improving. Confidence, when it improves, means people book earlier.
Right. Now, are you doing anything on that sense to making people, because that's the second part of the question, how can Jet2 encourage customers to book further in advance, to go and look for it, and commit to that holiday a bit more in advance? Is that a strategy, or?
Yeah, I think that it could be quite a strong lates market. And if it is a strong lates market, prices will go up. Again, fundamental law of supply and demand. If demand goes up, prices will go up.
Right.
But it's not just the prices themselves. If families have been a little bit reluctant to book because kids couldn't go because they're not vaccinated, etc., which is still the case for some kids in Spain.
Yeah.
Then they didn't have the confidence to book. So we need to get these people to try and book early, and with families that perhaps want family rooms, interconnecting rooms, various other facilities for kids, then they will run out. There's only so many interconnecting rooms or family rooms in a hotel, and when those are gone, they're gone. So people need to try and book early, one, to get better price, and two, to get the availability they want.
Right. Now that's interesting. Do you think people are still happy with all-inclusive and staying at fairly large hotels, and or some customer might be thinking of a different type of holiday, maybe a villa or?
I think in the main people will revert back to what they used to go to, and as you know, our two biggest board bases are half board and all inclusive, and people tend to want at least an element of the meals provided from the hotel.
Right.
I think that the all-inclusive model is a great model for the customer. It's perhaps not a great model for the general resorts. You know, if bars and restaurants are closing, it makes the destinations a little bit quieter than they could be and takes away some of the nightlife, etc. But again, that's what people want. And if people want all-inclusive, then that's what many hoteliers have to provide to give the customers what they want. I think we may see a slight increase in the percentage of all-inclusive bookings because people, again, tend to be spending more money. They're looking at the next holiday as a real treat because they haven't had one for 2 or 3 years. But also in inflationary times, people might be saying, well, I'm booking now for 10 months' time. What if prices go loads and we have to spend loads more money on food and drink than we thought we would? So they'll book all inclusive at the fixed rate and go for that.
Right.
So
they know what they're paying for.
Yeah, I don't think there'll be any major long-term shift in the nature of the holiday.
Now, interesting. Now, the last question. Now, what are the 3 biggest challenges facing the UK outbound travel industry, and how will Jet2 react to them?
The biggest ones facing the outbound leisure travel industry. Okay, in my opinion, the biggest short-term thing might be inflation.
Inflation.
I'm forgetting COVID. Let's assume that's out of the way.
Let's.
Yeah, but I think inflation.
Inflation would be.
Yeah, I mean, there's various scenarios to play out. Inflation in the UK is around about 5%. I think it's 4.9% in Europe.
Spain is about 6. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, let's not forget that all prices don't go up by 6%, and the people that feel inflation the most are the people at the lower end of the income spectrum.
Right.
If you look at the method of calculation for inflation in the UK, it includes things like golf club membership, 55-inch plasma TV, and the prices of those are pretty stable. Where people don't book golf club membership and buy a new TV every week, but they do buy bread and potatoes, etc. And those are the items we're seeing where inflation is going up. So with things like food, energy, petrol, and of course debt, because central banks are raising interest rates, so where debt, mortgages and loans, etc. are tied to a central bank rate, they will go up. So you've got food, fuel, energy and debt that are the ones that are seeing big increases. And unfortunately, those are the 4 elements that customers at the lower end of the income spectrum have. So inflation isn't a steady 6%. It's a sort of inverse relationship. The lower someone's salary, probably the higher the inflation rate they are seeing.
Of course.
Sorry, I sound like a wannabe economist here, but
no.
it is true. So I think we could see a situation where workers demand big pay rises to stave off the effects of inflation. That feeds through to inflation. Inflation goes up again, and we could be in what we saw in the 1970s, a wage price spiraling inflation. So that is quite worrying because it will reduce the amount of money in people's pockets. The biggest long-term threat we face is sustainability. And this cannot be underestimated by airlines, tour operators and hotels. It's coming, and it's coming like a freight train down the tracks. And if we're not prepared, it will hit us very, very badly. Governments have signed up for very strict targets on carbon reductions, and they will go for easy wins. What's the easiest thing for governments to do? Tax red meat, which is extremely polluting, or tax airfare. lots and lots of people eat red meat. The government could quite easily say, well, rich people fly, so we're putting it on airfares instead. So they will go for the easy wins, and unfortunately, some of the easy wins will be travellers. There will be airlines, there will be hotels, because that's what rich people do, go on holiday. Everybody needs to eat meat. So they're going to make these quite simple choices. And the British government, national governments and the EU are all talking about sustainability taxes. We pay, in 2019, we paid nearly 25 million in carbon taxes. We have to buy carbon credits, and we buy those from the EU, and we buy those from the UK. Both the UK and the EU governments will not commit to ring-fence those taxes and spending them on environmental projects. So we pay tax on carbon, and it just goes into a big pot and it's spent on whatever.
Yeah.
Wars in Ukraine or whatever, they'll spend it on whatever they want. And both the EU and UK governments will not commit to ring-fencing those taxes. So when they do put taxes in place under the guise of being green, it's not actually solving the problem by investing into sustainable projects. All it's doing, as I said, the very, very blunt instrument is, let's allow the fundamental law of supply and demand to kick in. We'll increase taxes, increase prices. Increased prices means less demand, so some hotels could go out of business, some airlines go out of business, and the environment wins because emissions will be lower. So that will be the government's response to this. What we have to do is aim to have travel at the same levels as now and increasing over the next few years, but to do it in a much more sustainable way, i.e. we all have to reduce our carbon footprint. If we're not seen to be doing that, the government will treat us like naughty children, line us up and say, you've been naughty, you have to pay more tax.
Yeah. Which is what's happening in the majority of cases.
It is. There's talks in the
to find.
There's talks in the EU of implementing a 47 cents per litre aviation fuel tax.
47%.
47 cents per litre.
47 cents. Right.
Yeah, but it's worse than you said. It's about a 60% tax.
Whoa.
60%.
60%. Yeah.
Yeah.
Gosh, your Spanish is improving. Good Lord.
Well, when it comes to percentage increases on the fuel, yeah. But governments are doing this. They see it as an easy thing to do, and that's it, problem solved. But, as far as I'm aware, they have not committed, if it comes in place, to ring-fencing that tax and spending it on green projects. So they'll just put the price up. They are looking at putting prices up to reduce demand. That is their mechanism to reduce emissions. That's not what is required. What is required for everybody to become greener. Now, we've ordered 75 brand new aircraft. The emissions are much lower on those, but that will take time to feed through, and they still do emit carbon dioxide. So what we're doing is reducing our CO2 emissions wherever we can, our gross emissions, but also what we've committed to do from the 1st of January this year is offset any carbon dioxide emissions that we're not currently offsetting through any government scheme. So we will offset through investing in projects all the carbon dioxide that we emit, and therefore effectively we will be carbon neutral. Now, it's not the same as not emitting the carbon altogether, but we will be offsetting the carbon that we're not offsetting through government schemes, and that's from the 1st of January this year. And sorry, go on.
No, I just wondered, now it just came into my head, is Jet2 as a company prepared to sit down and talk to the different governments and the different destinations and see what they're doing on, environmental projects, and perhaps cooperate and collaborate with those projects? Is that a possibility, or am I
No, it is a possibility and it's happening. We're speaking to governments representing countries to which we fly. And I think I said when I visited the Canaries before Christmas, we will be working with our hotel partners as well. We've got, a sustainability director, a team of people under him. We have commissioned experts to help us with what we're doing. Many hotels don't have that structure. It wouldn't make sense for them to. It's quite expensive. So we will be working with our hotel partners and helping them to try and become more sustainable businesses also, because we cannot fight this. We're going to have to do it, and eventually people will vote with their feet and they will go to the hotels, the tour operators, the airlines that are doing the most to try and be sustainable. Some hotels have already done quite a lot, others haven't done much at all.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's uneven.
It's very uneven, and it doesn't help that the UK government's doing one thing, the EU doing another thing, national governments are doing another thing, and unfortunately, given where we are following the financial crash and COVID and balance sheets being damaged, including government balance sheets, many governments see the implementation of an environmental tax as an easy way to raise additional revenue, particularly when they don't commit to ring-fencing that tax for sustainable projects. Right. It's just, let's put taxes up, pretend we're going green, and we'll spend it on whatever we want to spend it on. I understand that, I think it was the Balearics government spent some of their environmental tax on getting an opera singer or something to a concert. It was in one of the magazines the other week. And if governments are raising taxes in the name of sustainability, surely they should be spending the money on sustainable projects. Yeah. Build some wind farms, build some solar panels, try and cut emissions that way.
Right. I mean, let's make it clear, you have nothing against opera singers.
Not at all.
No. Okay.
What I do have a problem is opera singers being paid from the proceeds of a sustainability tax.
Right. I wanted to make that clear.
I don't have a problem with opera singers at all, Bruno.
Right. Wonderful. We have to leave it here, Steve. It's been absolute pleasure. Yeah, it is a pity. You were warming up, weren't you? Huh?
I was, yeah. It's like being interviewed by a very famous guy who used to do chat shows in the UK, Michael Parkinson. Miguel Parkinson.
Well, I've got a little bit of that, yeah. But that was a bad joke.
Parkinson.
Yeah, Miguel Parkinson. Yeah, that was a bad joke. I apologize for including to my aunt, 84-year-old, who's got Parkinson. So let's forget about that. Yeah, it was a bad joke. Steve, it was a pleasure as always. Thank you so much on behalf of all the people who tuned in, people who have written, people who bothered asking questions, and perhaps some of them we didn't have quite time to go through, but I want to thank them all as well for showing the interest in hooking up. So, and yeah.
It's really flattering, Bruno. You said just as we were coming on how many people had registered to listen to this, and it's really flattering that so many people have tuned in.
Yeah, and it's amazing.
I'd like.
Yeah. No, I'm sorry to interrupt, but I thought it was amazing that people register from Oregon. This is the west coast. Oregon, the west coast of the States.
Wow.
Yeah, Oregon, Florida, New York, as I said, the guy that asked the question, Greece, Brazil.
Wow.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people with nothing better to do.
A lot of people with hotels, investments in Tenerife or in the Canary Islands.
But I'd like to thank everyone for the support over the last couple of years, and in fact, with many people over the last 10 years. And it was to finish by saying one thing. Hopefully, I've got across today the investment that we're continuing to make in the customer journey and making sure our customers are happy. I would urge hoteliers, please, to remember how companies have treated you over the last 24 months and look how companies have treated their customers over the last 24 months by looking at TripAdvisor, etc. And you will see Jet2 Holidays very rightly is voted, the top 10 airlines in the world, the best tour operator, the last TTG Awards and the Globe Awards in the UK. If you want to make life easy, then go with a tour operator that really cares about keeping customers happy.
Great.
I'm bound to say that, but it's true.
Well, yeah. I mean, we can vouch for that. Thank you, Steve, again for your time, for your considerations, and so on. And
thank you.
Let us know when you're next coming this way, so we can.
I will. I hope to be back shortly. I went to the Canary Islands in December, and it was only one day in each island, which is far too short. I saw all our partners at the road shows we did, but I didn't get a chance to speak to many of them face to face. So sorry for that. Next time I'm there, I will be there for a bit longer and hopefully be able to spend some time with hoteliers and start talking about more exciting things like how we can continue to grow and work together. There's nothing that makes me happier to see a successful, profitable hotel. We're not one of these companies that think all the profits should be ours and you don't get anything. We want hotels to be profitable and to make a load of money, as we want to make a load of money ourselves, because if they do, they can plough that money back into the product, as you've done at Paradise Park over the years, and many, many hoteliers have done at their hotels, and make it better for the customers.
Message through. Thank you so much, Steve Heapy, my friend, CEO of Jet2.com and Jet2 Holidays. Have a great week.
Muchas gracias, amigo. Adiós.
Adiós, amigo. Cuídate.
Thank you.